inventory of everything you're spending time on. Write it down, assign a time to it. And that's kind of the first step of being able to understand how I need to place these items into the Eisenhower box. And what Eisenhower did is he broke all activities into 4 segments. Segment 1 was important but not urgent. Important but not urgent. These are our big, longer-term goals that we don't have to get done today. There's not, this isn't the 11th hour, and this is not something we have to complete today. It's something we have time on. It's your quarterly projections, your marketing strategy, your next sales meeting that you're going to be having with your team, and all the elements that are going to go into that. You know, it's going to be 30 days out, 60 days out, 90 days out. It's your strategic plan, but within every strategic plan is elements of other plans. So there's goals within goals in every single strategy. So you've got to set time aside. You've got to understand that I don't have to do this today, but I have to schedule time to get it done. And I'm going to come back to that in just a couple minutes. So just decide when you're going to do it. And when I say that, I always encourage folks that we're working with, our clients, our coaching clients, our training clients, that you have to pick hours and days during the course of a week and schedule it just like a doctor's appointment on your calendar to set that time aside, because I'm telling you, as we're developing these new routines, we're busier. We have this busyness in our brain that we probably haven't experienced before, and we're trying to rewire ourselves to some degree to be able to handle it. If you're not very strategic and very tactical about how you're arranging your day, scheduling your day, you had a routine at work, you had a routine when you go in the office every day, now I've got to develop a new routine. I encourage you very strongly to, if you're not already doing so, your longer term goals, strategies, tactics, activities that you've got to get accomplished. You've got to schedule time every single week. You've got to set goals within those goals and break it down into bite-sized pieces over time in order to get it accomplished, and accomplished without a lot of cramming at the very end, because typically what happens is other things come in and interrupt our time that we mentally, if we don't write it down, we don't schedule it, other things come in, the phone calls, the emails, the emergencies, the firefighting comes in and knocks these big longer term things off the block. And we don't necessarily reschedule it. It just goes away. That time's evaporated that we set aside for that. So if you schedule it, you put a date, you put a time that is appropriate to getting little goals within goals accomplished, you're going to be far better off. Now, the second box, or top right quadrant, is do it immediately. Now, these are very urgent. These are urgent and important. The house is on fire. The washing machine is leaking. The baby is crying. The President of the United States, Trump, is calling. We got to answer that phone call. So it's really important that we're able to differentiate what's urgent and important and just urgent. And I'm going to talk about that just in a minute, because not every phone call, not every text, not every email is urgent and important. There's very few phone calls that I have to take when it comes through during the course of the day. I can put that phone call off. I can, and this is just my personal situation, I can let that go to voicemail and I can get to it when I've got that time scheduled to handle phone calls during the course of the day. But if I put a phone call out and it's an important phone call to get back, I'm going to answer it. Certainly, if I need to evacuate the building, I want to know about that. I'm going to get my butt out of the building. So, but that should be a very small part of the day. Sometimes firefighting comes into that. Sometimes you didn't expect your key employee to come in and quit. Now everything else I was going to get done, that's getting shifted now. I've got to figure out how to handle this. Again, we're developing new routines as we're spending more time in isolation and working at home. and which sometimes opens up bad habits to where we had good habits. And because there is, like Tony said earlier, the day is almost endless now until we fall asleep at night. And so we figure we'll always have enough time to handle these small little urgent things. You cannot allow the same prioritization go to every little phone call, every text, every social media message. You've got to be able to delegate these things into two different boxes: highly urgent and important, and urgent but not that important, which is we're going to move down to the bottom right-hand quadrant. And things that are urgent have to be done right away, but not that important, and they don't fit into your scope of work, your ability, it's not going to fit on your plate today. We've got to look for opportunities to offload that to somebody else. Delegate it to somebody else, or don't do it today, put it off. If you've got some kind of window of time, I can do it either later today, I can do it tomorrow morning, I can make that my urgent and important thing tomorrow morning in my schedule. Think about it in those regards, but typically most urgent but not important things are emails and phone calls and text. And if you were at work, if people were popping into your office, that's those folks that pop in and say, hey, quick question for you. Hey, can I run something by you? Hey, did you watch Walking Dead last night? That sort of thing. Those kind of interruptions they're urgent because somebody's standing in front of you, or it's urgent because the phone is ringing, but they're just not that important right now. Now, our tendencies as pleasers, as people who like to take care of people, is we want to respond to it. And Tony's going to take a segment here in just a second and talk about things that you shouldn't be doing at particular times during the day, your don't list. So as your inventory and your time, the time spent during the course of the day, how many minutes during the course of the day are you being pulled off of what you're working on, put on something else because it's interrupted you, it's become to some degree a distraction? Can I ignore that? Can I put that off? Can I allow somebody else to take care of that? And then the bottom left quadrant, which is do it later or don't do it at all. It's not important, it's not urgent. That's just this time we spend at work chit-chatting, playing games. It's very often people interrupting again, popping in for just a quick chat, just a quick conversation. It is attending meetings or even Zoom calls that you really don't need to be on. More than ever, we need to be very decisive today as Zoom calls and virtual meetings have become so much a part of what's happened to our lives, our business lives in the past 30 years. Some cases, our personal lives. I know there was a lot of Easter Zoom calls this past Sunday with families, but you more than ever, you're the keeper of the key to your time. And there's going to be times that you have to just say no, like Danny was talking about earlier, to some of these meetings. Where our tendency is, because we don't know everything that's going on, that, well, maybe I do need to attend there, maybe I do need to jump on there. And there's an hour out of your day that may or may not have been well spent. So I'm going to go back through the 4 quadrants again. Important, not urgent. And you get to decide when you're going to get that done, but schedule it. Put it on the calendar, schedule a date and time for that. That's your longer term goals, processes, strategic plans that you want to get accomplished. But also always remember with those, if it's a big project, don't try to get it all done in one sitting. Break that up into smaller goals within that goal and break it up over weeks or break it up over hours in order to get it accomplished. You can work on it every day. You can work it on Wednesdays between 8 and 10 o'clock. But when you're working on these I forgot to mention this, when you're working on these things, 2 big suggestions. One, if you sit down at your desk and you're a morning, most people are, they're most Productive time is first thing in the morning, the start of the day. Do not start your day with email. Do not look at your email. Start on your project first. It's scheduled. It's that time. If you go read your first email, and you guys have all done this, I know I've done it. I do it more frequently than I'd like to admit, is I'll just take a quick look at emails here. I can just knock this out in 2 minutes. I just want to make sure nothing important has come across. And all of a sudden it's game on, and those 2 hours we set aside for our big project is gone. Do not start your day reading emails on those very busy times. I see we got a question coming through here. Email is evil. Amen, Brian. Amen, brother. Email it's a disease. It's crack. So the second box is urgent and important. And these are the things. This is the house is on fire. We got to evacuate the building. I got to get the baby to stop crying. And those should be a minor part of your day. You got to deal with them. Those are unanticipated events that happen during the course of the day, but you have to kind of plan for things that you didn't expect to happen during the course of the day. So as I'm laying out my 8-hour or my 10-hour or my 12-hour day, whatever your time slot is during the course of the day, I've got to make sure that I don't have every minute of all day accounted for. I've got to set some slop in there to account for the things I'm not anticipating, unanticipated, urgent needs. The bottom right-hand box, delegate it to somebody else or don't do it. You know, I had a boss when I first went through time training 30 years ago, time management training. It taught me to skim my email box. Won't get me fired, won't get me fired, won't get me fired. I better look at this, won't get me fired. And very often there's emails that will sit in my box for a week or 2 weeks that I don't want to even look at. I'll get to it eventually, but I'm going to get to it when I get to it. There's other more urgent things, more important things that I want to get to first. And does that make me rude sometimes? Well, maybe, but you know what? I'm managing my time. The only person who can manage this is me. And then the other thing is do it later. That's the not important, not urgent. That's just the silly stuff that we allow to creep into our daily processes, especially now that we're at home. We've got all these distractions. I'm sitting down, I'm working on this project, I'm working through this report. Oh, I'm gonna walk the dog. I'm working through this project, I'm working through this report. Oh gosh, I think I'll take a walk outside. It's beautiful today. You can't, you know, the kids need a cookie. It's, you know, the wife wants to talk about, or the husband wants to talk about something that happened at their work. They want to complain about something. Very often is that you have to have a closed door policy at certain times that people cannot access you. It's in a typical office environment, you can schedule that. It's hard to do that when you're sitting at home with kids and spouses and loved ones. So, but you need to set a policy internally in your house that, hey, mom or dad during this period of time has got big stuff to do, or you get up early in the morning, or you stay up late at night when nobody else is going to bother you to get it done. But you've got to keep those distractions out.